Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this exciting webinar. As usual, we'll give a couple of minutes for additional people to join. As Swetha was saying, in this new world, and we're probably in back-to-back meetings, so we need to give a bit of time to these people. But bear with us. We'll soon kick that off. Hi, Lyubov. Hope you're well. Hola, Marco. Hi from south of France to you in Madrid. Hi, Sam. Yeah, it looks like we have a few countries in Europe. Okay, we'll give 1 or 2 more minutes for people joining just now, and then we'll be ready to kick off. Hi, Haley. Okay, well, I suggest we kick it off. And anyway, there's going to be a recording that we send out after for people to listen to that webinar again and go through Swetha's slides. But thank you, everyone, for joining us in this particular format, a customer story. So today I'm very pleased to be joined by Swetha, so the head of HR at Diffblue. So thank you for joining us, Swetha, and for also taking the time to share your story with the community and how you've been leveraging PayFit also to better manage payroll over the last 12 months. Very excited to have you with us. And I'm Alexis. I'm one of the product experts. So in terms of the agenda, I'll give you a very quick overview of what PayFit is for people that are not familiar with us, but I won't be long because I think what everybody's looking forward to is to hear Swetha's talk and not mine. So I'll be a couple of minutes long, and then I'll pass it on to her so that she can go through, explain a little bit more in detail what Diffblue is, and then her story on how she's been using PayFit. And of course, towards the end of the webinar, there will be a Q&A session for anyone who might have additional questions that we can answer with. So a little bit about PayFit. To set the scene, PayFit is an international company, mainly based in Europe. We have been, over the last 5 years, one of the fastest growing SaaS softwares. We've been on a very exciting journey, grown from 3 employees to 520 today. And we are currently helping over 5,000 customers across 5 countries, obviously the UK, but also France, Germany, Spain, and Italy. And these 5,000 customers have leveraged PayFit to better manage their payroll, but also HR management processes. How did PayFit come to life? Ultimately, when you look at the last 10 or so years across finance and HR, it's been obvious that there's been a tremendous amount of innovation towards HR and finance leaders, providing them with fantastic tools to save them time, to help them be more efficient, and give them more visibility also on their businesses. And our founders quickly realized, especially within the SME space, payroll was pretty much left behind. Companies were facing fairly outdated tools, and so there was a strong willingness from our founders to change that and really provide SMEs with a fairly simple, intuitive tool that will align with the innovation that we've seen among other aspects of HR and finance. So it's important to understand that PayFit today has created a fairly unique payroll aspect. What I mean by that is that PayFit today combines the best of the two existing worlds that most businesses are used to. On one side, I think that's could be very relevant to Swetha's story. Companies tend to outsource payroll. They don't have the expertise. They don't really have the time to handle that themselves. So someone else handles their payroll. However, we know that includes certain challenges, of course, certain benefits. The other possibility, and what other SMEs do, is that they completely bring payroll in-house through a software of their own. They manage that themselves. There are certain benefits, of course, but also challenges where ultimately these businesses require in-house payroll expertise. We saw a very interesting gap in the market, and we decided to combine the best of these two worlds. So it's really important to understand and see PayFit as the perfect hybrid solution between what should be a great outsourced payroll partner and what should be a great and simple payroll software to use. And on top of that, another gap that we've identified among the SME space is that there's a lot of different systems that are being used that do not talk to each other. So there's two ways that we approach that PayFit. On one side, we've built our own HR management and expense management software that directly impacts payroll and comes as a single package. And we're now also going down the route of integration to external HRIS in the long run to really help these businesses have a better synchronization between HR data and payroll data. So that is a very quick overview of what PayFit can do. But without further ado, I'll leave the floor to Swetha.
Alexis, thank you very much, and thank you for that introduction as well. I'm really excited to be here and to share our experience with PayFit. So just a quick introduction about myself. I have about 16 plus years of very wide range of international HR experience in various sectors. I also have experience of implementing about 5 different HR systems in my previous jobs as well. So I have the joy of doing this quite regularly in every role I go to. So a quick introduction about Diffblue. So we are a tech startup company. We are based in Oxford. We are about 50 employees currently in terms of headcount. In June 2017, we received $22 million Series A funding, which is one of the largest funding received for tech companies in Europe at that point in time. We have some very notable customers like Goldman Sachs and AWS, and we were named the Gartner Cool Vendor in tech space for 2020. Again, it's a great recognition for a company of our size. And what we do is something really cool. So let me talk to you about what Diffblue does. So Diffblue Cover is our flagship product. So we use artificial intelligence. And I'm going to make it really simple to explain to a non-tech group. So Java developers write Java codes, and then they have to write something called as unit test to make sure that the codes they have written is working properly as they expected it to work. Java developers hate writing unit test. So what our product does is it just sits in the background, it auto-generates unit tests for them, and it is in a human-readable form. And that is the main differentiator for our product, that there is nothing else in the market which generates these kind of tests, which is human readable. So our product does that, and it is expected to save about 20% of a developer's time because a proper unit testing takes about 20% of developers' time. So because they don't like to write unit tests, developers either take a lot of time to write it or they don't do a thorough job. So the whole test is not written, like the coverage is not there. So our product will reassure organizations as well that the codes that their developers have developed has been tested thoroughly as well. So it's quite exciting space to be in, and quite nice to be with a lot of like forward-thinking artificial intelligence kind of space where people are talking about all the great things that the tool can do. So I joined Diffblue in September 2019, so not very long ago, and I set up the HR function here. I had to keep some of the processes I had to improve, and then I had to introduce a lot of new processes because they didn't have a HR function before me. So payroll definitely had lots of pain points. Let's see what some of those are. So our process, when I looked at all the pain points, I can actually bucket them into these three broader areas. So before having PayFit, we had our payroll done through an accounting firm. So the whole process was very inefficient and very manual. So at the end of every month, so about 18th of the month, I used to send a Word document of all the payroll changes for the month. I had to write detailed instructions about everything. And then I used to send it to this accounting firm. I didn't have access to their payroll system, so I didn't know how our data looked in their system, how they coded certain things in their system. So it was very difficult for me not to have access to the information of our own employees. So I had to write even more detailed instructions for them. It was very time consuming. So this accounting firm that we had had a typical traditional accounting setting. So they work 9 to 5, they have an hour's lunch break. So if you have to make a phone call, you only can do it between 9 to 5, but they will not pick up the phone during lunchtime. And sometimes they were very unresponsive. So if you sent an email, sometimes I waited like 2-3 days to get a response. Whereas for us, everything is quite quick in a startup environment. I really need to know the answers quickly. So till I joined Diffblue, prior to that, one of my colleagues, she used to receive all the payslips in one PDF file. She used to patiently save each of the payslip into different individual files, and she used to email our employees their payslip one by one. The first thing I said when I joined is that I'm not doing that because I'm 100% certain that I'll attach the wrong payslip, and I don't want to get into the whole GDPR and all that. So I said, I'm not doing that. So we asked our accounting firm to directly send the payslips to our employees, password protected. Again, these are things they should have told our company before if they were proactive to say, we have this facility, do you want to do this? Instead, I had to ask them to do it. So again, just to my point about being very traditional, they're not customer oriented. So we were manually entering pension information into our pension portal as well. Again, it was a very manual process before I joined. They used to go into every individual record and then type the pension amount contribution for that month, although it didn't change every month. So I didn't even understand why we had to do that way every month. We then requested for a CSV file, and we used to get that from our accounting firm. Again, that CSV file was not complete. I had to recheck, and there were gaps again, go back to them, and there were a lot of toing and froing, of course. And so I used to get a PDF. So you might remember that I send this Word document to them in terms of the instructions. So they then send me a draft PDF payroll report, which is a draft. So I have to then print it off, and I have to go row by row, and then I have to tally that amount with a manual spreadsheet I used to maintain where I have my own payroll calculations for the month. And every month it used to be like solving a puzzle because the numbers will never tally, which means I have to go row by row to find out where the discrepancies are and figure out why that discrepancy was there, and then go back to them with a long list of things where there were discrepancies for them to explain what was going on. So this used to take me like 4 to 5 days equivalent worth of work every month. And I'm not a payroll expert. I'm a HR professional. And that's where I want to spend my time on, bringing in HR initiatives and looking at how we have great employee engagement. How do we attract more diverse candidates? But I used to absolutely dread end of the month because I had to do payroll. That nicely takes me to the next point, which is errors. So sometimes I really want to quickly call a payroll provider and understand, or my payroll expert. I always had like an in-house payroll person. I would go to them and say, hey, can you explain to me how this works from a payroll perspective, or what the tax implication of this could be? Or an employee is asking me this question about their tax code and how does that work? But I would never get all that additional support or service from this accounting firm. And despite writing detailed instructions on the form, there were at least 2 to 3 errors each month. I'm not exaggerating, and we are only 50 employees payroll company. I should say that our payroll is pretty straightforward. I have worked for Oxford University in medical sciences, so the NHS consultants payroll is so much more complicated. We are nowhere closer to anywhere complex to what we do here. So I could say that the errors were due to, sometimes the errors were due to the lack of knowledge from the accountants. For example, they were not aware that organizations could have enhanced sick pay policy or enhanced maternity pay. And there were also errors sometimes in them calculating holiday pay, for example. So these I would always have expected that the accountants or the payroll person will know. And as a HR professional, I never had to explain all this in great detail to a payroll person. And the next one is reports. So obviously, we didn't have many reports from this accounting firm except for this wonderful PDF of the payroll form, payroll document, or whatever. It lists all the payroll elements and what people get paid that month. So every time I needed any sort of customized reports, I had to pull that information and pull data from all other sources and then try and stitch up a report together every time I needed any sort of information. And it never helped that I got all this information in a PDF format, so it's then quite difficult to convert it into any other formats for ease of use. And as I said, I used to always dread end of the month due to the cumbersome payroll process. I really didn't look forward to the manual payroll. And I used to get so frustrated that we are actually a tech company and we are trying to help developers use artificial intelligence for complex Java codes. And here I am sat with a PDF file for just some numbers, which will be so easy to just do it on Excel or whatever. And I think I was frustrated that the accounting firm never looked at it from a customer's perspective. Like, how does it impact me as a customer? That was never the perspective. I always, sometimes I would sat there thinking about carbon copied payroll forms. I don't know if all of you have seen that before. Like, I used to use that 14 years before. And I was also worried to make sure that our employees are paid accurately, because it's a question of trust for our employees that, okay, if there are errors in payroll, they'll be like, okay, what else have I not been paid correctly? But equally, for us to correct any errors is another big process, because it's, again, all the backwards and forwards with this accounting firm. Payslips were not very simple to understand, obviously. And all the additional payments that we would ask them to pay will all just classified as miscellaneous payment. So the employee would never know what they got paid that for. Obviously, there'll be email trails. Obviously, we would have told them why they're getting paid extra or what deductions we are making. But I would have expected the payslip is a lot more clearer, so when they look at it, they know what's going on. So we decided that one of the critical areas that needed to change as soon as possible was payroll. So we started searching for the right solution. There are hundreds of options out there, as you might be aware as well. And we started looking at the options of maybe changing the accountants, outsourcing payroll completely. We even considered various different payroll software providers. But I was very clear that the provider we went with should be able to understand and address all our pain points, because we can't keep changing payroll provider every month. So once I get a payroll provider, I want to work with them for a long time to come. So I want to make sure that they are the right company, they have the right kind of ethos to work with us, and they really respect and understand the customer's needs, which is not too much to ask for, I'm sure. So we were looking for providers that can tick all these boxes for us. So first of all, I was looking at a cloud-based payroll software provider with easy to use user interface. So it's quite intuitive. You don't need loads of training to be able to use a system. I would expect that the system tells me what should I do next. We wanted something that's off the shelf with very little or no customizations or configuration. In my experience, I have implemented HR systems where we ended up hiring consultants who had to configure the system, and the cost of this actual final product was much more higher than just buying the product from the main company, because the tool needed so much of configuration, which we couldn't do as lay users of the product. We wanted specialized payroll support for those complex payroll queries. I'm always conscious that I'm not a payroll expert. I'm a HR person. So I don't know everything about payroll, and I really want to ask those payroll questions to somebody who is a specialist in that area. And I wanted the visibility of my entire payroll process. I need to know what's going on with my employee, what their tax codes are they getting paid correctly, what their basic salary is, kind of information. Reporting was very important for us as well. Again, data is so powerful, and we have data now, and we want to make sure that we get really good reports out of the system. I also wanted to make sure that the tool we get is cost effective and is transparent in terms of pricing as well. So we are a startup company, so headcount fluctuation is quite common with a startup company. And this I said at the first as well, like I wanted a company who would be responsive and who care about their customer. So how did PayFit support Diffblue? You might be aware that organizations take different approach to tooling. So some organization might choose just one tool, and then they will use all the modules in the tool. So for example, you as an organization might have chosen SuccessFactors, and you decide to use all their modules like your applicant tracking system, leave system, and everything. A lot of cases, there is not one tool I've come across who have been brilliant in all the modules that they have got. Every tool which provides multiple modules, they are great in certain modules, but they're not great in other modules. And some companies choose to get the best provider for each of the area. So for example, they might choose a provider for applicant tracking system. They might choose a different provider for HR system. They might choose a different provider for rewards and recognition system. Few years ago, that might have been quite difficult because you have to then manually enter all the information in all of these systems. But as Alex has mentioned as well, there is quite a lot of APIs and integration that is available these days. So we don't have to worry about having to manually enter all this information into all these systems. But then I get the best of all these tools for my employees and for myself as an organization. There are advantages and disadvantages of both of these, but at Diffblue, we have decided that we will go with the best tool that is available for each of those areas. So after looking into various options, we decided to go with PayFit's payroll function. And I'm going to explain why we went with PayFit. I have supported European countries in the past in my HR role, and I know France payroll is very complex. And when PayFit said that they are catering to the French payroll market, that was a big tick for me to start with. And right from early on in their sales process, obviously their salespeople, their onboarding team, everybody has been so passionate about what they have been doing. Equally, they've been so willing to understand what my concerns were. And they were able to support me wonderfully throughout this process. I didn't even feel like I've gone through a major payroll provider change at all. It was just so easy in terms of switching to PayFit. But apart from that, obviously, you might recall some of these as my pain points when I started talking earlier. So I have definitely, PayFit has definitely helped by reducing the time I'm spending on payroll. So you might remember I said I've spent about five working days equivalent every month on payroll with our previous provider. But with PayFit, I would say I'm spending about 1 day equivalent worth of my time on payroll. And obviously, I'm able to focus quite a lot more on all the HR stuff, which is what I'm good at and which is what I should be doing. Reduced admin a lot, and I don't have to do the toing and froing with my accounting team. If there are questions, I obviously log a call with the support function, and they get back to me straight away, quickly, to the point, and I'm not waiting even 24 hours to get a response. And in some cases, I get a response within an hour, which is brilliant. Providing visibility over the entire payroll process. So when this is another great feature I love about PayFit, is that as soon as you make change to your to the payroll, you can immediately view the payslip of the employee. So I know what the employee is going to see, and end of the month, if the employee has any questions, I can see what they can see as well. I have worked in organizations where I have not seen the employee's payslip, and I ask them to bring a copy of the payslip, and the employee used to wonder, well, you have sent me you as in for them, HR sends payslip, but we don't do it like payroll provider sends it. But employees don't see the differentiation between HR and payroll. Automated sending of payslips to employees via their login from personal email ID. This is great because even after an employee has left the company, they can still access the payslips while they were here. So your ex-employees are not going to contact you asking for the last 12 months payslip because they're applying for a mortgage. I have come across this quite often. So this is another great feature. Customer support is great. I know I spoke about customer support. And I love the fact that we can now access qualified payroll people. So whenever I have any payroll-related questions, I need to access a specialist. And I log a support call. It's a payroll specialist who is responding to me and not somebody who's just trained in answering a non-payroll query. So that is great for me. And I love the customized reporting function as well, because I can then, if my finance director wants a particular report, I'm able to just customize it on the tool, and then he has access to the tool. So he can run that report himself. He can customize it himself, but I just help him with customizing and stuff like that, because he does not need to understand the tool as much as I do understand it anyway. So personally, for me, obviously, the time I have saved has been amazing, because we're not talking about currently. Previously, I was spending 2 days. Now it's 1 day. I'm talking about 5 days to 1 day, which is brilliant for me. And PayFit definitely has removed the stress from doing payroll. And I actually look forward to doing payroll now with PayFit, which is great. So we'll quickly talk about some of my favorite apps feature. So real-time viewing of employee payslip, I spoke to you about that. I love it. I really love that feature. P11D, I'm sure some of us would have the experience of running around like headless chicken in the month of May and June to collect all the P11D information going back to the previous year, because we have to complete the P11D by June in the UK. So what I love about PayFit is that I can track the P11D information all the way during the year. And even when the employee leaves or they change any benefit, everything is tracked through the system. So I'm really looking forward to, come end of April, I'll be able to click a button and then my P11D report is ready for my accounting team, which is amazing. I was really, really impressed with how the PayFits team was very proactive with the CJRS, the furlough scheme implementation. Luckily, we didn't have to furlough many employees, but even the one or two we had to, it was quite straightforward. They had special areas where you could really tag them clearly in terms of the fact that they are on furlough scheme. The PayFit would calculate and tell us what we can claim back from the government. I didn't have to do any of those calculations, which was really refreshing, having spoken to a few of my other HR colleagues here in Oxford. They were saying like their payroll providers didn't do anything like that. So they were sitting and trying to work everything out and figure out how much to claim and what they are eligible for. And here I am sat using PayFit, and click of a button, I know what I can claim back from the government. So that was great. And kudos to your team for doing that, actually. With COVID, obviously, everybody is working from home and we have remote onboarding. The onboarding feature is great because as a new starter can fill in all their personal information with their personal email ID. And then it saves me time as well. So I'm not sitting and typing all their personal information because they've already done it. And we've had some really great feedback from our new starters as well in terms of how efficient our onboarding process had been, because they were worried about how onboarding is going to be because everybody is remote. Pension, I mentioned a bit about the issues we had with our pension portal. PayFit just uploads that information to our pension portal. I have not even logged into our pension portal in a very long time, but I know that it's all going properly because I get notification when the pension provider gets paid from us. They send a message to say, we have received this amount from you, thank you. So I know that is going on absolutely brilliantly well. So thank you for that. Variance reports. So in our team currently, it's my team member and we do the payroll. And then I look at the variance report at the end of the month, which just gives me like a summary of the changes for the month. Our CFO loves this report because he can just look at that and sign off the payroll instead of having to look at all the records, which is what he used to do before. He used to look at the whole of the payroll form that we get sent back. He had to read everything before he can sign off, whereas this is easy to know what the variance is for the month, and then he just signs it off. So overall, we are very happy with our decision to go with PayFit, and they've definitely been a lifesaver to me. And as I keep telling these guys, I can talk a whole day about the benefits I've had with PayFit. over to Alexis.
Thank you so much, Swetha. Always lovely to hear this kind of feedback. And yeah, I think the whole PayFit team, thank you for that. And it's been a pleasure working with you over the last 12 months. So I think there was one question while you were presenting, which I believe was answered as part of your favorite feature, which was, what support have you received with regards to the CJR scheme, furlough calculations, and HMRC claims? Yevan, I just wanted to ensure if Swetha's answers your question, or if there was anything else we could provide you with on that front. Perfect, all good. So yes, we've come to the end of this webinar, but we're still available for any additional questions. So feel free to ping that on the chat directly, and we can help you out. Yes, Lyubov, employees can book holidays directly from the PayFit platform, whether it's absences, holidays, sickness, furlough leaves, and at the same time, if you use an external HRIS, you can also import all these leaves directly onto PayFit for calculations to be automated. So a question from Marco: how does the data flow into PayFit? Okay, into PayFit work, do you have an interface or use file uploads? Do you have any? Maybe also Swetha can help. Any particular data you have in mind, Marco, around your question? New hires. So I'll let you go through that question, Swetha. How do you handle new hires on a monthly basis?
Sure. So for us, there are various options and various methods by which you can set up new hires on PayFit. We always use the employee self-service function, where we just, to start with, enter the first name, last name, and email ID of the employee, and that gets sent to them, and they fill in most of the information themselves. And then we just set up the rest of the information in terms of their contract, salary, and stuff like that. And that's all we need to do. We just to touch on the previous question as well. So we have a different HR system, and we quite like that HR system. So when we got PayFit, we did not go with PayFit's leave system because we said we have a HR system, our employees are settled with that, which is brilliant. So we still are able to import some of those information into PayFit as needed. Does that answer Marco's question? Thank you. What payroll reports do you provide? Alexis, maybe I can say what I use. Obviously, you can add what.
That would be great.
What I love about PayFit's reports is that they have all the dimensions of the report. There are some pre-populated reports like the variance report, like the salary analysis, cost report, things like that. But there are some reports that I can customize. And so they have all the dimensions there. I just pull the dimensions that I need, and I just customize the kind of report that I need.
Yes, and to complement that, yes, so a lot of flexibility in building your bespoke reports, even, and we also provide then standard payroll reports, year-to-date information, and also HR reports that you can directly download from the PayFit app. So then we have more technical questions, but very quickly, Lyubov, on the car allowance, yes, that has been coded also as a benefit into the PayFit app. We'll just need you to fill in a couple of information, and then the calculation, monthly calculation, will be done for you, depending again on I think the CO2 emissions, etc. So it's all in there. There was a question more from a finance perspective from Sam. So yes, we integrate with Xero. Comes the end of the month, you'll be able to generate directly from PayFit your Xero accounting journals, just to make your life easier and handle the accounting directly on Xero from there. Hope that answers your question, Sam. And we've got one last from Lyubov. Does it calculate Bradford absence factor? I would have to lean on one of our payroll experts, unless Swetha, you're familiar with this. I'm sorry.
Familiar with what the absence factor is, but because we don't use your leave module fully, I'll not know whether it does it or not.
Caught me on the spot, Lyubov, but I'll definitely get back to you with that particular answer for sure. And Yevan, another question on integration. So by Oracle Finance, I'll assume you're referring to NetSuite, and if so, then yes, similar to Xero, QuickBooks, or Sage, we've built that out for our customers directly onto PayFit. Great to see that.
One other feature, which obviously I can talk about PayFit all day, but one other feature I quite like is how easy and customized the pay slip is for the employees. It's very easy for them to read, and I can type in what that particular payment is for, to the level that I can type Q1 commission in that pay slip. So the employee knows, anyway, they know the commission they get is for Q1, but it's quite nice, and it adds to that personal touch. And there's a place to write messages to your employees if you want to mass communicate something in a payslip. That's also possible.
Can employees update their bank details themselves? Yes, that has been a 2021 feature that we launched, Lyubov. So now employees can do that directly through their personal space, and that will impact payroll on a monthly basis. Great to see that kind of reaction. I really appreciate all your questions. I think, Swetha, you did a great job of highlighting the benefits of PayFit. So really appreciate it.
Well, it's what this tool is doing, so I didn't have to exaggerate anything at all. It's just what it's doing, and I was really surprised there was a gap in the market that people didn't even understand how to connect the HR and payroll people in terms of what the needs are, and I think PayFit has done brilliantly there.
Fantastic. So do you do trials? Yes, that is something we can consider, and I think one thing to mention to everyone attending this webinar first. So you'll have a recording of this webinar. Don't hesitate to either reach out directly to myself for any additional questions, or go through our website for more information, and we'd be more than happy to provide you with a personalized demo. And we're in a very important period of the year. In 2 months' time, the new tax year kicks off, so it makes it also very, very easy and straightforward for us to help you with the transition. And we're looking at around 24 to 48 hours. I don't know if you want to elaborate on how that happened, Swetha, last year in April, just so people also make the most out of it if they're ever experiencing issues at the moment.
Yeah, so although we were ready by about February, we knew we wanted to go with PayFit. I waited till the 1st of April. Again, great advice from their team as well, to say you might want to wait till the start of the next tax year, because we are so close to April. So we just waited for us to start from the 1st of April. Talking about trials, one of the things we did was a little bit of a trial, but we also had to be aware that it's not a live payroll system, and the data will not exactly match in terms of my payslip with my accounting firm versus what PayFit will generate as a payslip, because PayFit didn't have the historical information about that particular employee. Whereas when we started from 1st of April, it was absolutely fine. It was going well. And the onboarding was great. We had a dedicated person to help us with onboarding. He gave us all the stuff that we needed to do. We had regular calls. And wherever we were stuck, we didn't feel like, okay, now that you're signed up, we don't care about you anymore. We didn't feel like that at all, anywhere throughout the process. I think right from the sales team to even now post-sales support, I think we are more than happy with the level of support we get.
Fantastic. Lyubov, I'll ask for someone in the team to get in touch with you. Our pricing differs on the needs that you want and different modules, but as this sounds interesting to you, we'll ensure to reach out and further explain pricing and how the tool works, if you don't mind. And of course, we'll send out the recording to everyone automatically. Great. Well, thanks for all these questions. And again, Swetha, thank you so much on behalf of the whole PayFit team to share your experience today. And yeah, I think we can wrap it up.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to share my feedback.
No problem. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful end of the week and weekend. Stay safe. Bye-bye.